Artificial intelligence presents new challenges to faith traditions.
It also presents us with new possibilities for talking about faith.
The American Religious Town Hall meeting is now in session.
Welcome, friends, to the American Religious Town Hall meeting, where the discussion of religious, political, and social issues is meant to promote the cause of religious freedom and to help us better understand each other. And now, here's your host and moderator, Pastor Jerry Lutz.
Thank you, Mark, and I would also like to welcome you to today's program, a rather interesting one, a little different than what we're used to discussing here, but an important one. Glad you've joined us today. Before we get started, I'd like for you to meet our panelists. Let's begin with the gentleman to my right.
My name is Mel Robeck. I'm Senior Professor of Church History and Ecumenics and Special Assistant to the President for Ecumenical Relations at Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California. I am also an ordained minister with the Assemblies of God.
I'm Tony Matthews, and I serve as Senior Pastor at North Garland Baptist Fellowship in Garland, Texas.
I'm Andrea Luxton. I'm President of Andrews University in Berrien Springs, Michigan, which is affiliated with the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
I'm Bishop Michael Olson, and I am the Roman Catholic Bishop of the Diocese of Fort Worth, Texas.
I am John Peterson. I am a canon of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington and am canonically resident in that diocese.
I'm Dan Levin. I'm the Senior Rabbi at Temple Bethel in Boca Raton, Florida.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here today. As you can see, we have a really good panel assembled here for this particular subject. As I said, it's a little unusual. Let's get right into it. The debate on the impact of artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI, on humanity rages fiercely on the internet, ironically, and in conversations amongst scientists. In 2014, Stephen Hawking, one of Britain's preeminent scientists, whose own voice was only possible through artificial intelligence, declared this: "The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race," close quote. That could be seen as an extreme position. However, others would argue that AI at least means a massive net loss of jobs as automation takes over. There will be more leisure, and economics will change to support that reality. The minority voice would disagree and sees AI as creating new opportunities for jobs and for humanity. One thing everyone seems to agree on is this: the world as we know it will be dramatically different as AI becomes an even more prominent part of our daily lives. AI also has significant impact on the way younger generations in particular see the world, humanity, and for many, how they see God. God and faith become irrelevancies for some in a world where technology, and in particular AI, makes decisions previously left to humans. Some would argue that it has in fact become the religion of the current century. The panelists are going to discuss this today, and I'd like for them to keep these questions in mind. First of all, does artificial intelligence pose a threat or offer new opportunities to churches, to synagogues, and to mosques? Another question: does religion have to change the way it does business to still be relevant in a world of AI? And then finally, another question I'm asking them to consider today is: how would you respond to an individual that thinks God is an outdated belief system in a world of artificial intelligence? Well, that is what we're going to be discussing here around this table. Again, I'm so very glad you've joined us. And we're going to begin with those who started with opening statements. For that, let's go back to Rabbi Levin. Glad to have you on the program here again today. You say it is a threat that may be posing some interesting challenges in today's world in religious organizations. Tell us a little bit more about that, if you would, please.
Well, it's great to see everyone again. I think that there are several different challenges. I'm not sure a threat is necessarily the right word, but I think there are three different elements that I'd like us to think about in this huge new idea of artificial intelligence. The first is the current applications of artificial intelligence are oftentimes things that limit our choices. And a foundational element of our faith traditions finds itself in the debate and the dialogue between how much is there determined for us and how limited are our choices versus the expressions of our free will. So if Facebook or the internet limits what I see in terms of the friends that pop up based on certain algorithms, or news that I read based on certain predispositions of my search histories, what does that do to my ability to glean information if I don't transcend what they serve up for me? The second thing is, can you really teach a computer to be ethical? So on the one hand, if I could teach a computer the entire Talmud and all of the Shulchan Aruch and everything that is in the thousands of years of corpus of Jewish law, could I teach a computer to apply that law in each and every rational circumstance? And the answer is, I don't know. Because not all application of law or even religious belief is in the realm of the rational. The third thing I would suggest is that you might be able to have artificial intelligence, AI, but I'm not sure there is such a thing yet as AS, which is artificial spirituality. You might be able to train a computer to go and run an algorithm, but I'm not sure you could train a computer to love or to experience awe or wonder or to feel that sense of what human connection does to the spirit. Karen Armstrong said that religiosity is in many ways a talent, an ability to see the unseen. Artificial intelligence can deal with the here and now, the concrete, but the elements of the spirit, and that's where faith traditions live, I think may be beyond the reach of artificial intelligence.
All right, thank you very much. And let's go back to Dr. Luxton. You started today's program. You're seeing some opportunities here.
Yeah, just some excellent comments we just heard from the rabbi, and really, in a way, the opportunities are the flip side of some of the challenges. But before I go there, when I think back to when I was going through university and some of the questions that were being asked then, the questions were, is there a linear line between magic, religion, and in that case, science? And some would see now, I think, and see this linear line that goes magic, religion, science, technology. And of course, that whole belief system is something that I can't buy into. And there was a phrase that I used to really like that said, our God is too small, right? And I think that when we look back in time, how we defined God has often connected with the human parameters in which we are currently living. So I think that when we look at science, we would want to say, well, no, science never replaced God. But our view of God and the way we relate to God changes within an environment as we make more scientific discoveries. And I think the same has to happen here. Our view of God is not limited by artificial intelligence, but it gives us the opportunity to expand that view of God, to work within an environment where artificial intelligence becomes a possibility. So I think, yes, we have to ask the questions, okay, so how do we have to see it slightly differently? How do we connect God to this world? And more importantly, help the current generation who grew up in this world to see that, no, there was something bigger than artificial intelligence. God is way bigger than that. There are elements to God that cannot possibly be answered by artificial intelligence, and make that real to them. That we're not living just in a world of rational choices, computerized conclusions. Actually, God, or what God brings to the table, is bigger than that. It is relational, the ethics, the values, all of those things are bigger than that. So I think it does say to us as a church, okay, churches and synagogues, how do we create that understanding for our young people? And maybe we need millennials around the table to help us answer that.
Thank you, Dr. Luxton. Let's come over to Dr. Matthews. Welcome back to the program today. Your perspective on the subject,
Yeah, it's good being here. I think these were two outstanding openings with artificial intelligence. And I would just add that the net loss of jobs, I think that raises a really valid concern, and that's something that we should be mindful of and keep our eyes open for. I'm glad that the ERLC is a Baptist organization, the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. They wrote a response to AI because, of course, we have a lot of millennials and artificial intelligence is all over, and they said that it doesn't pose a threat, as we all know, so long as it doesn't usurp or subvert the dominion and stewardship which has been entrusted solely to humanity. And though those things are, you think those things are kind of explicit and people will understand those, these are things we certainly have to continue to teach our young people in our churches and synagogues. And obviously in terms of the question related to God, is it replacing God? We just know that AI is not worthy of man's hope. I think these are things we just have to consistently teach on. We preach on it when we meet with our young people and the millennials who are so, I mean, they almost can't function without all of the technology and things like that. We just have to just kind of remind them that, hey, you know, these things aren't to be worshipped, and our focus needs to stay on the Lord. But I think AI is a good thing. It's an exciting time, but of course, all good things, if it's not used correctly, can steer people in the wrong direction. But I think it's a good thing.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Robeck, welcome to the program today.
Thank you.
And your thoughts on the subject, please.
Yeah, I think I'm very much a pessimist when it comes to AI, and I think I would go along with Stephen Hawking's concern that it could be the end of civilization as we know it. You know, every time we get something new in science and technology, I always go back to the question of, are we going to do good things with this, or are we going to do evil things with this? Adam and Eve wanted more knowledge. There was a sense in which that was not wrong. They walked with God in the evening, and I'm certain that they learned things in that process. But the reality is they went too far on the knowledge quest, and we don't really know how to handle knowledge at very sophisticated levels. I think that we do a fair job, but I have to say, every time we get something new, like AT&T used to have an ad where they would say, reach out and touch someone. But the reality is our telephones have driven us further and further apart. You know, they've made us become much more individualists. Think about social media, and just think about the kinds of things that are going on in social media now that are spreading evil kinds of things. Think about nuclear fission, which was there for the purpose of energy, and we turned it into bombs. Think about artificial insemination, and while it was there to help couples that could not conceive, we now have designer babies and so forth. So we have the propensity, I think, as human beings, always to make water run downhill and so forth. So the evil applications of this. When I think about AI, I mean, when I get on a plane to go to Europe now, if I fly KLM, for instance, I never have to show them a ticket. I just walk up and they take a picture of me. Or if you're in one of those clear programs that some of these airlines in the U.S. are doing now, you give them your fingerprint and they photograph your eye. Our privacy is gone. Yeah. Our ability to be individuals in a sense and to celebrate that individualism is gone. What we are facing, I think, is a potential of government control of a lot of things. And I think that's what's driving the fight, or the argument, the quest for AI by nation states that are trying to find, we need to be at the top of this and nobody else. Once we're there, then we have the ability to get what we want done.
All right, thank you. Canon Peterson, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Your perspective on this, please.
Wow. I want to say that how much I appreciated Andrea's statements in relationship to the positiveness of this. And I think that it's easy to be able to say, it's no good. But I think that there's also the opportunity to be able to come to have a new understanding, for example, of God. When I was thinking about this program, and I was highly influenced by the Southern Baptist report. I think that the Southern Baptists here have done an excellent presentation. There are two major presentations by churches that I think have really done well in dealing with the AI. And one is the Church of England, and the other is the Southern Baptists. So congratulations, kudos to the Southern Baptists for a job well done. And I think that we're challenged here to really say, how does this help us to have a better or a new understanding of God? Certainly our understanding of God today, and I suspect, Mel, on the American Religious Town Hall at the time of the Reformation, they would have had a person say exactly what you said. No question about it. So today, with the new challenges that we have, and I want to pick up with what Andrea said here, I think that we have a new opportunity to come to even have a wider, a broader, a newer understanding of how God is revealing God's personhood to us today. And so I think that we have an opportunity. Yes, it can be bad. But I think that also, exactly what Dan was saying at the beginning, how important it is for us to be able to come to have a new understanding in relationship to how AI can influence us today in this time in which we live.
Thank you. Bishop Olson, your thoughts, please.
This very good conversation, a lot of very good questions. I was thinking about artificial intelligence, and it's also, what about artificial ignorance? Because there doesn't seem to be a lot of that. But my point is, how do you educate, a computer, a capacity to learn, and all of that? And it seems the difference is, at least the issues at the Reformation had to do with the balance of faith and reason, and trying to grasp that. Here, it seems like that we're seeing a replacement of reason and human reason, or that what begins as an aid to knowing things does some damage on actually learning things, which is a human endeavor that involves teaching and learning. I think Will Rogers said that everybody's ignorant, just in different areas. And I think that's a take on the sense that in order to learn, it requires the community of the classroom. It requires a mentoring relationship. And my question is, how is AI going to change that? And does automation, in a sense, lead us more deeply into this isolation where the world just becomes only about me, and I don't have to deal with anyone who's different than me, or we form communities only with those people with whom I'm like-minded or share my economic status or buying capacity? Those are other questions that we're going to have to answer as people of faith and also people of reason. I think the dovetail again on what the rabbi's insights about that in the beginning was just simply what I would term as the transcendentals, those things that are beyond reason, where we grasp God. We can grasp God in mystery. We can grasp God even in our ignorance and coming to greater awareness of Him. We grasp God in the beautiful, in goodness, in the truth that holds us more than we hold it. And I think my concern is that in a desire for facility of life, we're going to maybe barter away an aspect of our humanity if we're not careful.
Thank you. In the context, we referenced Stephen Hawking in the statement he made about the end of civilization as AI. He's talking about the full development of AI, which in that world of AI means developing the ability to think for oneself as an artificially intelligent device. Self-awareness is what they describe that as. So far, we get what we put into our computers. It's the human influence, and the algorithms then influence us in our decision-making. Could it be that there is a part of our society that would rather have an artificial intelligent device make a decision for us when sometimes we have difficulty making our own? And what does that say about us? Canon Peterson.
Yes, I think that Dan really pointed out something important, is that we have isolated ourselves so much into a particular tiny tribe in which we simply function and we do not have that interaction. And so how can AI help us to have that interaction with people with whom we disagree or whatever? And I think that you pointed out something really important here, Dan, because we are so tribal in relationship to only being with our own people, with our own religious or political thought.
So can AI help us to sort out some of those things, Rabbi Levin, to sort out making the decisions?
I think, relating a little bit to what Mel said, I think technology generally doesn't have a moral valence. Yeah. I think you can use technologies for all sorts of goods, and you can use technologies for all sorts of bads. Mm-hmm. And we could look at any number of different technologies and see how they were used for good or bad. And that's why I think the real lesson that AI teaches us is that we cannot hand over ourselves to another.
And that's all the time we've got. We'll end on that point for now. But we are going to come back in a few moments for the summary statements. Before that, there's an important announcement I'd like for you to stand by to listen to. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Thank you, Pastor Lutz. We hope you are enjoying today's program. If you would like to learn more about the American Religious Town Hall, please visit our website at americanreligious.org. That's americanreligious.org. There you can read about the mission and history of the program, learn about the Town Hall estates, and view past programs by clicking the appropriate menu buttons. Each week, Pastor Lutz looks forward to receiving your letters. You may write to him at the address shown on your screen. Send your letters to Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. That's Pastor Jerry Lutz, American Religious Town Hall Meeting, P.O. Box 180118, Dallas, Texas 75218. Thank you for writing, and thank you for watching. And now, back to you, Pastor Lutz, and today's closing statements.
Thank you. I do look forward to hearing from you. As Mark suggested, you can go to the website. You can learn some great things there about the Town Hall Estates. You can also view past programs that are archived there for your viewing pleasure at whatever time you would like to. And you can also send me letters, cards, and give us suggestions about programs you'd like to hear discussed or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the program. We're going to go to our summary statements now, and let's begin with Dr. Robeck. You're first.
All right. Let me just make a statement and say that I think AI is basically a neutral platform like virtually everything else. I don't think it teaches me much about God, at least not yet. I don't think it teaches me about moral human depravity either. And I'm really concerned about the fact that it doesn't take into consideration the kind of depravity of humankind at all different levels. And I think that's what will lead us to the realization that the current quest for AI domination is really to weaponize it for the future.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Luxton, your summation.
One of the areas we haven't really looked at so much is the pastoral impact of what happens with AI. I mean, we know, for example, that out there right now there's a sparsity of the demand for people working in technology exceeds the supply chain. What this in effect means is we've got a movement in our labor market. And as more expectation is required in the technology area, there's going to be less in other areas. So how are we responding as faith communities to the fact that we are going to get more and more people in need of pastoral support in the areas that the jobs that they've known are maybe not going to be there any longer? What is that going to do to the fabric of our society, and how are we set up to support that?
Thank you. Now, Canon Peterson, your summation, please.
Yes, and I suspect that that is really a moral decision that is ultimately made by each person in relationship to how they use the technology. And I would go back to Michael, is AI artificial intelligence, or is it artificial ignorance? And I think it becomes a matter of how a person uses the I, if it's going to be intelligence or if it's going to be ignorance. And I think that might be where a great deal of the challenge might be in how we make our moral decisions today.
All right, thank you very much. Rabbi Levin, your summation, please.
We teach the idea that humanity is created in the image of God. Human beings cannot be reduced to digits, and our decision-making processes cannot be reduced to sheer algorithms. And I think while AI can be an amazing tool to help us in any number of fields to improve the condition of the human experience, it cannot replace the human spirit.
All right, thank you. Now, Bishop Olson.
Artificial intelligence itself can be neutral, but we have to pay attention to the effect it's going to have on such human actions as human aspects as empathy, as love, as charity, as mentoring in the teacher-student relationship, the human dimensions. We encounter God in our brothers and sisters who are other human beings, both the mystery of God as He chooses to reveal Himself to us, and also us to ourselves.
All right, thank you. Now, Dr. Matthews, your summation.
Yes, while AI can be created as a tool for good use, it is not a moral agent. And therefore, humans, we have to have limits and boundaries on all sorts of AI. And we know that it is not to be worshipped, and we can't make it into a god. And so we just certainly need to make sure that we keep checks and balances in this area. But I do think that it is a positive, good tool. And at the same time, we just have to have boundaries and limitations on it.
All right, thank you very much. This has been a very interesting and I think informative discussion we've had around this table. There's one thing for certain I can say here is I appreciate the human intelligence that is expressed around this table here today. But having said that, the reason we're able to come into your home, either through your computer or your television set, is largely due to artificial intelligence. And so here we're living with it. Generations ago couldn't have grappled with the things that we are now taking for granted today. And it is kind of an amazing time and period in which we are living. And artificial intelligence being so much a part of our lives, and the cars we drive, the things we do in our homes. Our refrigerators talk to us as our washing machines do, and they send signals back and forth to the manufacturers. And it's so pervasive in the air around us. It's something that we have to deal with and grapple with. And I appreciate this discussion today and your willingness to kind of take it on as it relates to our religious lives and our spirituality. It certainly will become more and more of a challenge as time goes on, because the further we get into AI, the more we'll probably have to come back and discuss that around this table. But for now, the charter of the American Religious Town Hall provides that Roman Catholics, Protestants, Jews, and educators and others may appear on this program and can declare their beliefs without hesitancy. And the rest of the members of the panel will uphold and guarantee that American right to all who will appear, irrespective of race or creed, so that the rest of the world can see that here in America, we believe in civil and religious freedom, not only in theory, but in reality. So now, friends, until next week at the same time and over this very same channel, the American Religious Town Hall meeting stands adjourned. And may the God of all of us bless all of you.